Okay, so welcome everyone. Thanks for joining us for this meditation and discussion session. So I thought maybe to start with, just to kind of settle the energy, we could start off with a meditation, which I'm going to base on a section of the course, Course in Miracles, for those who are not familiar. I'll share my screen, so I'll just show it to you, and then maybe afterwards we can do a little discussion on it, because it's very related to the theme of today's quote, which I sent out. If any of you got that, so I loosed the world from all I thought it was, which is one of the most powerful lessons in the entire course, I think. So I'll just guide you through a little meditation. There's a little mind training exercise as part of this, just to kind of settle our energy, and then we'll move into a discussion. How does that sound? All good? Okay. So I'm going to put you all on mute. You can put yourself on mute. Well, I can probably do that for you, actually. Mute all. There we go. You can unmute yourself at any point, but keep yourself on mute in case there's any background noise. So just making yourself comfortable, sitting feet shoulder width apart, back straight. Cup your hands in your lap. Close your eyes. And start off with a nice deep breath in. So breathing in through the nose, notice how the stomach rises and the chest rises. And a subtle flow of air in through the nostrils. Squeeze your sphincter muscle. So that's the muscle you use to contract the flow of urine or squeeze the last drops out. That locks the energy in. And just feel this nice, warm, comforting sensation rising up the spine into your heart center. Breathe into your heart. Nice deep breath in. You can put one hand on your heart just to connect with your heart space. Just feeling a connection there. Bringing yourself into the present moment. Bring your attention inward. Take another breath in. And you might feel a subtle flow of energy rising up into the crown of your head. And just pausing at the top of the inhale. And just check in and scan your mind. So noticing any thoughts and any emotions going on. Particularly anything that feels at all unpleasant, negative, we could call it, limiting, contracted, constricting. Notice the thoughts, notice the emotions, notice the sensations in the body. Just observing. And if it's not helpful, if it's not really serving you, then you can choose to let it go. Just use today's key idea from today's workbook lesson that I've chosen. I loosed the world from all I thought it was. The truth is, everything's just in thought, held in thought, creating an emotion, and it gets entrapped. And that's all emotion is, just energy in motion. And so you can just move it through, just exhale and just blow it all away. Imagine you're just blowing this energy away, like a dark cloud, just leaving you. These clouds are really ephemeral. They have no power to obscure the light, the eternal light in your mind. So you just clear the space and you allow this light, the light of your source, to shine through the clear blue sky of your true awareness. You feel an opening and a lightening and a lifting. Pull the lower stomach into the spine so you completely empty yourself. Hold the breath just for a few seconds. Really appreciating the stillness. There's this exquisite silence and stillness that arises. Then breathe in again. Nice deep breath in. Notice how the stomach rises first, then the chest rises again. Put your hand on your heart center. That helps you just to connect in with your heart space. And just bringing your attention within, drawing the senses, putting all your attention on the breath, subtle sensations of the breath, touch of your hand on your heart, feel the energy there. Feel the energy rising up the spine again. Notice the subtle flow of air in through the nostrils. Pause, smile. Maybe you notice now a little bit more lightness, a little bit more clarity in your mind and in your heart. And so just say this to yourself. Repeat after me in your own mind. So I who remain as God or love or pure formless awareness created me, would loose the world from all I thought it was. For I am real because the world is not. And I would know my own reality. And then exhale on the truth of that. Out through the mouth again, just have a sense of releasing and letting go of any resistance to this. Just about letting go of any resistance. And Jesus advises to merely rest, alert but with no strain. Let your mind in quietness be changed so that the world is freed along with you. Just breathing in and out now in your own comfortable rhythm, breathing in through the nose and out through the nose. Noticing how the stomach rises and the chest rises. Subtle flow of air in through the nostrils. And just focus all the attention on the breath. It's really nowhere else to go. There's nothing else to do. Just breathe, relax, and be still. Rest. And the stillness that comes when you let go and release and surrender. Surrendering everything to this higher presence we can call love, God, that is the truth of who you are. Jesus says you need not realize that healing comes to many brothers far across the world, as well as to the ones you see nearby, as you send out these thoughts to bless the world. But you will sense your own release. Although you may not fully understand as yet, that you could never be released alone. So have a sense of just sinking into this unity of mind, unity of thought and feeling that we can call love. We all share that. Share it with everyone on the call tonight and extend that to everyone you know, family and friends, social network, and everyone you don't know. That's the entire human race. We all share this one life, this one source, which calls to all of us. It's what's brought you here tonight. It's been calling you since time began, calling you back to an awareness of itself. And so listen to that call now and just go within, sink deeper, deeper and deeper with each breath. Just observing the subtle sensations of the breath flowing into the nostrils and the breath flowing out of the nostrils. And notice the touch of the breath in the area just below your nose, between your nose and your upper lip. Just focus all your attention there to bring your attention into the present moment. And in the present moment, the presence, God or love can arise. So just be open to it. Invite it in. Allow it to come. Don't resist. Breathe, relax, be still for a few minutes of deep silence. And allow this deep, comforting presence to arise in your mind and your heart, to envelop you, to encompass you, and encompass all things, all people and things. You have a sense that this presence is everywhere. It's only you who exclude it from your mind, from your awareness, but it is in truth everywhere. So just give yourself over to it. This is what surrender means. Just allow this presence to arise in your mind, in your heart, to encompass you without resistance. Let go and let God. For the next few minutes of deep silence. And if any thoughts come in to disturb you, it's deep peace and tranquility. That's any thought really. It's irrelevant in this context. Just observe it casually, detachment. And remind yourself that I who remain as God created me. Or if you prefer the word love, you can use that. Or pure formless awareness is another term for the same presence You remain as God or love or oneness or presence or beingness or pure formless awareness created would loose the world, would release the world from all I thought it was. For I am real because the world is not. And I would know my own reality, not sometime in the future, but right now. So just letting go of any of those thoughts, imagine it's like clouds drifting by. Just blow them away. The breeze of your breath. They have no power to obscure the eternal sky of your true awareness, the light of your source that shines through that awareness. So let that light just shine through, uninterrupted. Go into a space of no mind and no thought, but just pure awareness. The next couple of minutes of deep silence, give yourself and the world that gift. So just very gently and bring your awareness back. It's hopefully a very deep place into the body and the breath and the senses and the world, but you can come back in a very present way. So the mind still calm, quiet, still. It stays very calm, quiet, and yet open and receptive state for the rest of the evening. And so it is said, so it is done. So on the count of 3, you're going to open your eyes. So 1, just breathing in, noticing how the stomach rises and the chest rises, and the subtle flow of air in through the nostrils. And you notice the subtle rising up of the energy, Kundalini energy. It's called up the spine. Put your hand in your heart center again, connecting with your heart space, just noticing all the subtle sensations around your breath without any interpretation or judgment. You just allow them to be, they arise, and then they pass away. So you bring your mind completely into the present moment, back, entry into the meditations through the present moment, and we come out through the present moment. And just noticing any thoughts and any emotions going on. Maybe compared with 20 minutes ago, notice how quiet and calm your mind is. Sense of spaciousness, of openness, more awareness, more clarity, more light. So all just words to describe what is really indescribable, but there is a feeling of more clarity and more lightness. So notice that, and by noticing it, you can anchor it in. That means you anchor the state into your awareness for the rest of the evening. Okay, and so it is said, so it is done. And just keep some awareness on your breathing as we go through the session to remain in this very connected state, connected deeply to your source. And then that source, that spirit, will guide a lot of your thoughts and your feelings and help you to get the most out of the session. Give you what you need to get right now. And so exhale on the truth of that. Okay, just releasing anything that's still blocking this flowing awareness of source. Letting it go, noticing the energy subsiding back down the front channel of your body to your lower stomach and your groin. And noticing the weight of your body on the count of 2, pressing down into the chair, feet touching the ground. Noticing what you're feeling and touching. Your hands, maybe there's a subtle flow of air on your skin, notice that. As you breathe out, notice any smell in your nose, notice any taste in your mouth. These subtle sensations we don't normally notice brings your mind into the present moment. Noticing what you're hearing in the surrounding environment, but with no judgment. So whatever the sounds are, you allow them to rise and they pass away. Rising and passing away is the nature of all form. Nothing here is permanent. It comes and it goes. So just let it blow through your awareness. Like clouds just drifting by, but you don't give the clouds a reality. They're ephemeral, so quickly changing that one could never call them real. And so you just let all these sense perceptions go, and any interpretations of your sense perceptions, any meaning you attach to them go as well. They just blow away with the breeze of your breath, and what opens up is this vast, eternal, infinite sky. It is formless. It has no clouds. There's no form at all, but is everything. So the everything, the clouds, is actually nothing, and the nothing, the blue sky, is actually everything. It's the whole of your awareness. It's who you really are. Smile at that thought. And in a simple meditation, you've connected with who you really are. And the more you do this, the happier and the more peaceful you'll feel. So only this awareness will ever bring you happiness and peace in this world. And so on the truth of that, on the count of 3, open your eyes. Just take a minute to look around. Just observing the various objects in the room around you. Again, with no attachment. So whatever your eyes happen to rest on randomly, could be a door or a wall or a chair or a computer screen or a phone, whatever it is. You don't even name it or label it. Just allow your eyes to randomly rest on whatever object they see. Notice that this underlying awareness, this pure formless awareness, is still there. Even though your senses are now fully engaged, it's actually the same awareness as was there when you were deep in meditation. And then you look to something else, and the same awareness. Doesn't matter what it is. If you find that difficult, just breathe. Because breathing connects you with this awareness. And avoid the temptation to name anything. Don't name it as a cup or a computer screen. You don't have to do that. Just all these objects just sit in your awareness, and you allow them to blow through your awareness. So in the same way as sounds and feelings, sensations, your visual images, they just come and they go. And they're always shifting and changing, and you don't attach any importance or value to them. And that way you stay rooted into this pure formless awareness, into the reality of God or love that this lesson is pointing to. And you loose the world from what you thought it was, because the truth is only your thoughts about your sense perceptions can ever affect you. It's not the sense perceptions themselves, it's your thoughts and emotions about them. Okay, so that brings us to the end of the meditation. Everyone still with us? So I'm going to send this all to everyone via WhatsApp as well. If you're not on the group, I'll send these recordings. So I'm recording them as we go on my phone. So you'll have these after the session as well. And it's the whole session is live on YouTube as well, if you want to catch up with it afterwards. Okay, so we usually start with a little bit of a check-in, just people sharing whatever, whether it's a check-in or an expression session, as David Hoffmeister calls them, which just gives anyone an opportunity to express anything you want to express, anything on your mind, any challenges, any difficulties, any miracles, feel free to share. Or not, but actually, given there's 3 new people, if I can ask you, you don't have to share anything, but just introduce yourself in 30 seconds and say, who you are on the level of form. Anyway, we know who you are on the level of spirit, but you're on the level of form. So, anyone like to share anything? Maybe one of the members can kick it off. Kim? Any thoughts since last week?
I think just something that was, I was talking with a friend of mine around flow and trying to share that it's not in action. But I don't think I brought across very well that the spirit takes over. I think when you know that you've convinced that you've experienced it, it's like I think it's that razor's edge. And I think it's very much that trust that it can happen, so yeah. I think that's part of what today's session is about, but I think it will take time to kind of get there, especially when you're having things that have to be done in the future, and also where it's not only involving yourself, but it's involving other people that you have relationships or live with or married to, etc. So,
well, that's why it's an art.
And also,
it's experiential.
It might be you doing it, but you also have to kind of help someone else do something, and so it's very tricky, I think.
Well, thanks for sharing that. All I'll say to that is, this is experiential. It's very difficult to explain. Someone hasn't had the experience in words. So you can speak about it till the cows come home, until they've had an experience. And they go, oh, okay, now I know exactly.
I can't even personally. I can't say I've had that much experience myself. So that's the thing. I'm a beginner myself, so it's like.
Well, it's just it's continuous practice. The spiritual practice, the meditations and the breath breaks, and these are mind training lessons. That keeps you in the flow. And the more you do that, the more you start to experience it, the more it starts to make sense, because you know what that feeling feels like, and you're like, yeah, that feels, that's a good feeling. That's much better than the ego's feeling of feeling out of flow and disconnected, and everything's stressing, straining, and striving, and there's all that friction. You start to know the difference between those states, and that's actually a major accomplishment, to be able to determine, okay, well, this is helpful, this is what I want, and this is what I don't want. As Jesus says in the Course, we get confused. We think that the ego is our friend, and we think that these states are actually what we want. They're saying, the first part of this awakening is to say, become aware of what you do and what you don't want, and be able to tell the difference, because then you can choose. And it is a process. I mean, it just takes years. It's not necessarily going to happen overnight all the time, but you're on the journey. You've been on it for 7 months now, so just keep at it. And also reference, if you compare to where you were this time last year, that's also an interest to go, okay, well, actually, maybe I have, there is progress, because it's subtle on these subtle shifts, but you can notice that there's a difference in your normal mental and emotional state during the day. And then you're like, okay, well, actually, there has been progress. And because it's these subtle little shifts, you don't necessarily notice it or acknowledge it, but there has been. So, and then I guess, by example with other people, if you can lead by example, they might follow your way. Like, okay, actually, I'd like to be more like that, more flowing, more relaxed, more able to just poised, calm, able to deal with whatever life's throwing at me. And so, okay, tell me your secret. What do you do? And then you can, invite them to these sessions or the masterclass or whatever. There's a way in, but someone's got to be ready. Okay. Anything else to share?
Thank you. No, thanks, John.
Sure. Sue and John?
I'll just briefly introduce myself, should I?
Yeah. Yeah, Kim didn't actually do that. So
Oh, sorry.
Kim, maybe 30 seconds.
Okay, so I'm Kim. I'm originally I am from Joburg. I'm just currently in Aforementioned since late December, after Christmas, staying with my husband and in-laws.
Just down on the east coast for those in the UK, east coast of South Africa.
East coast of South Africa, yes. Yeah. And then I'm actually moving to Cape Town next month, so we'll be doing the rounds. So we'll go back to Joburg later this week. And then I've joined Jono's call. I've known Jono for a long time, probably close to about I don't know,
15
13,
years?
14 years, yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
And
Well,
I've been on a couple of Jono's retreats and, you know, kind of meditation class, etc. And I joined his course, Art of Letting Go course in June this year.
last year.
Sorry, last year. Yeah, okay. Still getting used to that. And soon John joined as well. So, and I've been on the Art of Letting Go program since the course.
Thank you for sharing that.
Thank you.
John, sorry to interrupt you, but
Yeah, no, it's fine. It's fine. Fine. Yeah, so we're in the UK in Suffolk in England, and I've been studying the course for probably about 15 years, doing the lessons, but since starting Jono's course several months ago, we've been looking very much at we've been looking at the course, but also very much the text and understanding the kind of metaphysics behind the course, which I've been enjoying, and I'm delighted to see Iona here because I haven't seen her for a few years.
yeah, welcome, Iona.
Thank you.
Yeah, and John, maybe just speak. You know, you were doing the workbook, weren't you, for 15 years, but you didn't touch the text.
Yeah. I've been I have practiced meditation for a long time, and I always found the the workbook good for starting off my morning meditation. But you know, those years ago, we were very busy in our business and things, and so I never really had time to kind of get into the text. So I think I used to do the lessons, and lots of things would go over my head, but actually I always used to find them beneficial. And I used to notice the days when I didn't do the course, I would notice that I would always carry the theme of the lesson, the theme of the day, in my pocket.
A good habit.
Yeah. And whenever I got into emotional difficulty or stress, I would go back to the lesson of the day, and I 9 times out of 10 that would help. Even if I didn't understand what it was good to go back to it.
Just for those who are not familiar, I don't know how familiar you are with the Course in Miracles, but there's a workbook which is daily lessons, and then there's a text which is the kind of the theory, goes more into the metaphysics behind it and so on. So Richard, just from your perspective, so there are these two major components of it, and some people just do the workbook and then they say I'm doing the course, but truth be told, it's both. You actually need both. I think you've probably seen that in your experience, haven't you, John?
Yeah.
And so, you know, it kind of rounds it out. Without the text, you often don't have the deeper theoretical understanding of what the workbook lessons are based on. Now, we just had a meditation on a workbook because they're ideal for meditation. They're really just guided ways of doing guided meditations with a key idea. Okay, thanks for sharing that. And Sue?
Yeah, so I'm and we both did
Can you just move your mouth a little bit in because we can't hear properly? It's not quite catching it on the mic.
Right. We both started Jono's Art of Letting Go course in June, I think. And I found it really helpful to do the daily discussions on the workbook and the text. really helped me understand what it was about a lot more. Yeah, so it's good to be back together again.
Yeah, we had a little bit of a break, but starting up again in 2 weeks because we were doing daily live sessions. So the way is an ongoing program, and you know, Sue and John would be like, "Oh, see you in the afternoon. See you in a few hours," because there's two live sessions a day. So it's a deep dive really into the course. You don't have to join all the sessions, but you get all the recordings. If you can't join the live sessions, send it all immediately via WhatsApp. So it's just to give you a little idea of what Sue's talking about. Okay. Anything else to share, Sue? You're done?
Yeah, I just want to share that we met Iona, was it about 2009 or 10, something like that?
Was March 2013, actually.
Oh, was it?
Yeah. At your house.
House at a workshop, working a lot with another course teacher called Sandy Levy-Lundeen from America. And we hosted workshops at our house, and Iona came to one, and then for several years after that. Yeah, so that was good.
And you're seeing her again after a few years. So that's great.
It was life-changing. Being introduced to A Course in Miracles these years ago. It changed my life profoundly. Yeah.
So you've been working with it for quite a few years now.
Yes, I have. There's nothing like the peace that the big blue book brings me. It when I go astray, and I do, and I forget, and last week I went astray, and I was delighted to hear you say, let go and let God, because that came to me this morning, and it was just a massive reminder again, just let go. And I know that in this life, I'm here to deal with a lot of belief in attack and blame. And I had been in that blame and attack cycle last week. It's exhausting and it's not real. But I was investing in it. John invited me to come into this group. Perfect. Perfect. So thank you, John.
Yeah, thank you, John, for connecting us. And that's often how it works. You just get exactly the message you need when you need it. So that's really how miracles work. Yeah. Nothing necessarily phenomenal in terms of walking on water or raising the dead, but just the right message when you need it, or little connection, invitation, these kinds of things. And that's happening all the time. In these, strange and miraculous ways. So, do you want to tell us anything more, Iona, about yourself? You're an artist, Findhorn. I'm sure everyone's quite interested in.
Yeah, thank you. I'm Scott, born and bred here in Scotland.
I can hear, yeah. I can hear the accent.
And now I live on Scotland's northeast coast, just outside the intentional spiritual community of Findhorn, which was one of the first here in the UK. It was established here in the late 60s under very amazing circumstances. And the community here is struggling and going through lots of transition at the moment, for sure. So I'm here with my partner, Kenneth, and we are really open to experience why we're here. And a lot is showing to us at the moment. So it feels like exactly the right place to be. It's not easy, but it's really worthwhile. And it's a beautiful part of the country to be in as well. And yes, I am a painter.
Oh, you must show us some of your work before we go.
Wow, thank you.
Yeah, it's nice. Art is part of the expression of creative force of God, isn't it? So always nice to see her. I see Katie's just joined us. Hi, Katie.
Hi.
How are you? Everyone needs to phone home. I like that.
Oh, did you see this? I thought oh, did you see it for the first time, or did it appear for the first time?
Yeah. So we just done a meditation. Everyone's just doing a little check-in and stuff. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah. Yeah, I'm Katie, appearing in Germany, and I'm I know A Course in Miracles since a year, and I found Jonathan when I was watching a YouTube video from him, and it's like, oh, it goes 4 hours, wow. And then I watched it, and then I thought, oh, it's like unusual, 4 hours. And then yeah, I wanted to join in, and then I got here.
Well, you actually signed up to the masterclass, and then I'd put a redirect on it so that immediately you joined the Zoom room, and we happened to be in a live session. So it was kind of very synchronistic. It was like, oh, someone's just popped into the room midway in the session. So it was obviously meant to be. So yeah, welcome. And you're going to be joining us for the course and the whole year. Katie decided she wanted to dive in and do the whole year of deep dive into A Course in Miracles. So I'm looking forward to the journey with you.
Yeah.
It's going to be great. Okay, so that leaves Richard and Darby. Richard,
I'll go.
Okay, Darby, you go.
Hi, I'm Darby. I'm Stein. I'm 51. I'm from Randburg, South Africa. I've been doing the course for many years. Stopped for a while, and then I started again a few months ago. The workbook lessons really helped me to stay calm and peaceful when I needed. When I was in turmoil, anxiety, and stress issues, then I would go back to the course and recite some lesson headings, and which immediately would bring me peace. I think that's what Jesus, his whole thought plan behind the course is to give us these lessons or these thoughts, these ideas, to put us immediately into a peaceful state when we need it, and not think and go into the stressful thoughts and stuff and what the world thinks. And like this lesson says, at the start it says, we have to change our beliefs about the world. And these ideas that Jesus gives us in the course really changes our beliefs of how we grew up and how we thought the world was. But in truth, how the world is the way Jesus stated in the lessons. But also I was involved in church for many years, and I read the Bible through as well twice, and I knew a lot of verses. I still do. And a lot of it ties in. ACIM and the Bible ties in, but obviously the Bible we know is fear-based, and where the course is totally peace-based. Peace and faith, trusting God, no matter what. And then obviously peace. It gives you a lot of peace. So yeah, it's given me a lot of peace over the years, and yeah, that's why I'll do the course most probably until I die. Because you have to, like going to gym, if you want to look at if you want to keep your muscles, you have to go to gym regularly to keep the muscles going. Same with the course. You need to be in this course regularly until you die, because if you're not looking at the course regularly 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 times a week, then you're going to lose that connection, and the worldly beliefs will take over again. That's what you don't want. So yeah, I'm happy with the course. Thank you for getting me on your group. It's nice. Thank you.
Oh, well, welcome. Well, that's just so true. I mean, I've seen that in my own life, and many people. There's been many people who've been in the course and they've actually got a lot of peace from it. Everyone experiences benefits, and then they fall off for some reason. They don't practice it, and if you don't practice it, then it's very easy for that connection to slip away, and suddenly the ego's in charge again, and you've got all this negativity and fear and guilt and attack going on, and it just creeps in day by day. And the world, what Jesus is saying is the world's designed to stimulate those, to trigger those in you. And so you have to be vigilant and practice regularly. So I'm delighted you said you stopped it for a while. I'm delighted you're back. And it is just like gym, just do it all the time. It's not something you do and, oh, well, now I've done the course, I'm sorted for the rest of my life. It's on that sort of fundamental philosophy, I've built the Art of Letting Go course and the program, because it's designed to help you to practice this daily. I've been working on it for 3 years on a formula that I think now works, where to really do this, you actually need a daily live sessions. You need 2 daily live sessions, because there's a workbook. So we cover that in the afternoon, and then a text in the evening. Sometimes we bring it all together, like on a Sunday. But then it's quite a long session, as Katie said. These sessions can then extend to 3-4 hours. So it's better to split it up and then break it into sort of more manageable bite-sized pieces. And they're happening all the time. So you can join and practice and get a connection with like-minded people, which is also beautiful. I really enjoy the connections with people that happen, even though it's virtual. It's almost as good as being in a room together, because there's definitely a connection and a synergy. And obviously, practically speaking, there's just no way this would be possible any other way. We've got people in the UK, Scotland, Germany, South Africa, various parts of South Africa, and the beauty of this technology just enables this connection. So, thanks for sharing, Darby. Welcome.
Thank you.
And
Thank you.
you're welcome to join more. I'll tell you at the end, how you can take this further if you want to. But let's hear from Richard first.
Hi, folks. I'm in Randburg as well.
Which is in Johannesburg, just
in
so
Johannesburg. This is my first introduction to Course in Miracles, Art of Letting Go. I have a friend who very kindly sent it to me last year in September, and it just kind of went past. I didn't catch the wave then, and as timing changes in your life and messages come and sink through, and perhaps later in the year, as you start to have a bit more time to slow down, you're able to start thinking about these things. So I've recently started looking at some of the I've done self-work, but I haven't done it in this manner. So it's now something of interest, and it's certainly something I need to do. I've got an adrenal gland that is kaput. It's absolutely fatigued out of sight from life experiences. So I need to find ways to push and to create that harmony in my life as well, and to and to do forgiving. To be quite honest, there's always that thing that Dad did, or that thing that that just kind of holds you back in an emotional sense.
No,
So
your timing is perfect, I'd say, because we just started. Yeah. So if you joined September last year, you would have jumped in kind of mid program. We would have been 2 or 3 months into it, because I started in June. So we're starting again from day 1, lesson 1, and the course is just it's an introduction to the whole program. So it's really helpful to do that, and then decide whether you want to continue on from that. So it's all perfect. And welcome. Okay, so anyone else like to share anything? Anything on your mind? Any thoughts? Otherwise, we can go into some. Maybe have a look at the lesson today.
I have a short question. So it will start from 21st January, and then till we got through the workbook and the textbook, it will take till when? So
yeah, okay. It's the 23rd of January, just to be precise.
Yeah.
Sunday, 2 weeks time. So 2 weeks Sunday will be the opening session.
Yeah.
Which we'll do probably in the afternoon, because it's more accessible for people. But like whoever's on the course, I'll just do a little quiz and see when everyone's when's going to be the best time. Either afternoon at 12:30 UK time, or evening at 6:30 UK time. So that's 2:30, that's 1:30 your time, or 7:30 your time, Katie, and it's 2:30 p.m. and 8:30 p.m. South African time. And then the course lasts till the 6th of March. It's 43 days. And then thereafter, I normally take a break, but the problem is if it's a 1-year program, when we take a week's break, it kind of knocks the whole year out, because we really want to cover this 360 lessons. So we're going to go straight into on the 7th, we'll go straight into the follow-up program, because that week just throws it out. So, and yeah, all the materials ready for it. So you signed up for that, you just continue. So the 6-week course is really the first 6 weeks of the 1-year program, but there's quite a bit of extra information and some exercises and so on that we do as part of that process.
Okay, thank you.
Really a nice kind of introduction to the whole program, and give you some other, it's not just a Course in Miracles, there's some other teachings I bring in, and just try and bring it all together and show you how it all fits together really beautifully, because it does, the truth is true, and you see it everywhere in many paths and traditions. So does that answer your question?
Yeah, thank you.
Happy with that? Okay, and I see Marlene's just popped in. Hi, Marlene. So we just finished kind of checking in. Everyone's introduced themselves. So you're the last one. Do you want to just give a quick introduction? And then we'll go into some practice. Is Marlene there? Okay. I can't hear you, Marlene. So I'm not sure there's any issue with your sound. So if you can get it going, then yeah, by all means, yeah, you can share and introduce. Marlene actually introduced Richard to this, and she joined and did a month last year. So hopefully, there we go. See something happening. Kind of dark. Okay. Not much sound though. Hi, Marlene. Okay, nothing's happening there. So let's move on. I'm just going to share my screen with you. Seem to have an issue with sound. Yeah. Okay, but as long as you can hear us, Marlene, then you can just listen in. So just let me know when you can see the screen.
Yep.
Okay. So this was the lesson that we just did a meditation on. They're all profound, but this is one of the most profound ones, I think, in the entire workbook. So what we usually do is do a bit of reading of the workbook lesson, and then just discuss each paragraph by paragraph. So shall we do that? So let's ask a member to kick it off. Kim, do you want to kick it off with paragraph 1, please?
Okay. I loose the world from all I thought it was. What keeps the world in chains but your beliefs? And what can save the world except yourself? Belief is powerful indeed. The thoughts you hold are mighty, and illusions are as strong in their effect as is the truth. A madman thinks the world he sees is real and does not doubt it, nor can he be swayed by questioning his thoughts' effects. It is but when their source is raised to question that the hope of freedom comes to him at last.
Okay. So any thoughts strike you about that? Any questions?
Yeah, even just the number 3, the belief is powerful indeed. Because I think with the course, if it's about letting go what you know. it requires, it's quite a thing that if you have powerful beliefs already, it goes on to the point 4, the thoughts you hold are mighty and illusions are strong as in their effects as is the truth. and that could be belief.
Mm.
And then the madman thinks the world he sees is real and does not doubt it. And that could tie into a belief that could be so strong.
Mm.
Mm.
We have a series of beliefs that make up the world we see, and that those beliefs tie us to the world. And he's saying these beliefs are, strong in their effects. I was speaking to someone earlier, and she said, "Well, it's like this. The ego is like this big, hairy monster. It's like this enormous." And it seems to be that way because we've invested so much mental and emotional energy in it. And so it's this big, ugly thing that, seems to govern our lives. And yet it's just a belief. That's all it is. And we see just how strong beliefs are, in the world. I mean, you look at what's happened over the last 2 years. All of this whole COVID pandemic is based on belief. That's all it is. It's based on belief in various so-called facts that are told you. And if you don't believe them, then it doesn't have a reality for you. It's that interesting. So we see just how powerful beliefs are to govern our behavior, to govern our world. Our world is governed by beliefs. So when he says beliefs are powerful, he's asking us to pay attention to this and saying this is the key, your beliefs. Any other comments or questions on that first paragraph?
Not from me.
Okay. Anyone else?
On his second point, he's got capital S on self. And what can save the world except yourself? So I'm taking it that self there refers to our our true self.
Yeah.
That which is aligned with formless awareness.
Yeah, capitalized. So we'll go into some of the language of the course as we go along, because he's got specific language that he uses, and it's useful to understand what he means by these terms. So if he capitalizes something, then it means that it's referring to your higher self, your higher nature. So self, Holy Spirit, these things are all capitalized. So he's capitalized self because this is the self is the truth of who you are. This connects you with source. It is created by the source, and he'll go into that as we go along, because I think he goes into that quite a bit in this section. And a madman, I love his language. A madman thinks the world he sees is real and does not doubt it. So in English terms, you could say he's taking the piss out of us a bit. He's saying, this is what you believe. You're all mad. You think the world you see is real and you do not doubt it. Nor can you be swayed. You be swayed by questioning his thoughts' effects. But when their source is raised to question, the hope of freedom comes to him at last. So he's actually asking us to question every single value. I was reading a section of the text today, and he said, this course requires that you question every single value that you have. Every single belief that you have. I'm just going to put you on mute, Darby, because there's a bit of sound going on there. Okay, someone's joining us. Hello. Welcome. Is that your partner? Hello. Is she joining us or not? Oh, now you're muted. Hello. Welcome. Okay, now you're muted, Darby. Hi. Hello.
Okay. Hi.
Nice to meet you. You're going to join us? You're most welcome if you'd like.
No, I'm just asking if he's up for a cup of tea.
Oh, okay.
I can't offer you any tea, but I can offer him some tea.
A virtual cup of tea, yeah. Okay. Well, listen in. Nice to meet you. Anyway.
Nice to meet you too.
Okay. So, as I was saying, one of the, I think it's introduction to chapter 24. He's saying this course requires that you question every single value that you hold, which is quite profound, really, quite radical. Every single value that you hold. Okay, it's asking you to question every single belief you have about the world, about yourself, and bring these all up into question and say, well, what is their source? Where do these come from? And then the hope of freedom comes, because if you start to see that these are false, all these beliefs that enslave you, that cause you any kind of pain or suffering or grief, that all of these are false, then you have the key to freedom, because their source simply isn't real. Okay, so should we move on to number 2? Anyone want to read that? Okay. No one's volunteering?
Yeah,
Sue?
I'll go.
Okay, now we have.
yeah, we've got 2.
I think Iona said first, so you go,
Alright.
Iona, and then Darby can do 3.
All right. Yet is salvation easily achieved, for anyone is free to change his mind, and all his thoughts change with it. Now the source of thought has shifted, for to change your mind means you have changed the source of all ideas you think or ever thought or yet will think. You free the past from what you thought before. You free the future from all ancient thoughts of seeking what you do not want to find.
Okay, anything stand out for you there?
Salvation easily achieved, for anyone is free to change his mind. That change can come in an instant. That everything can profoundly release and change when we change our mind, and that's mighty. Because it means you've changed the source of all ideas you thought you think or ever thought or yet will think. That's incredible.
It's radically profound.
Yes.
What he's holding out to, saying you can change everything.
Yeah.
And it can actually happen in an instant. There have been instances where people have just kind of got it in a moment. They just sort of wake up. And it's like, whoa, suddenly my whole just everything, just that old belief system just drops away. And I start to see, my eyes open, and I start to see with spiritual vision. Eckhart Tolle is a good example of that. He just had a kind of a wake-up call. It's like he's just so miserable and unhappy, and he's lying in bed one night going, I can't stand myself anymore. And then he goes, but maybe there's 2 selves. Maybe there's a true I and there's a self that I can't stand. And then it just kind of, that spins him into some kind of vortex of energy. He passes out and he wakes up the next morning. He's like, wow, seeing the world with new eyes, like everything's just changed in an instant. So it is possible. For most of us, it's kind of more gradual. And that's why we have a mind training process like this, because it's just step by step, day by day. Just let these ideas permeate in to your awareness and start gradually transforming your mindset to realize, well, actually, it's all mind. Everything is held in mind. And if I'm suffering, it's because of my own mind. It's because of my own beliefs. That's the problem. It's not out there. So, the theme of today's session was about how to ride the wild tiger of change. Because there's a lot of, there's always been change in the world, but I think change is accelerated. There's so much happening in the world. And if you look to the external world for any kind of comfort and security, it's going to disappoint you time and again because it's changing. It's moving so fast. So how do you ride this wild tiger? Well, the only answer is you have to go within and you have to find the source of all of your beliefs, all of your ideas, and change it and profoundly change your mind. And then it doesn't matter what's happening on the level of form, because your mind has changed. And then how you perceive whatever's happening is going to be transformed. So Jesus says, seek not to change the world, but seek to change your mind about the world. That's really the key. You know, you change the world the moment you change your mind about the world, because you change your perception of it. And that changes your world, because how you perceive the world is your world. There is no absolute reality out there. I mean, Newtonian physics has been discredited. There is no absolute reality that is objectively there. It's all perceptual. Quantum mechanics says there is no reality in the absence of observation. So it's all perceptual. So how do you change the world? Well, you just change your perception of it. It's that simple. And that's totally internal. That's your own mind. Your own thinking will do that. So you have the power to change the world in an instant. And a lot of people look at the Course and go, no, that can't be real. But then they're judging it on the level of form and saying, oh, well, you know, what he means is you're going to change the external world. And that's not what he means. He means you're going to change your perception of the world, and you can do that in an instant. And that's the power of this teaching. So you're spot on there, Iona.
So it's always an inside job.
Absolutely. Which means you take your power back. Nothing in the world has the power to victimize you or enslave you, or said you were dealing with blame, and you know that's just projection of guilt. Nothing has the power to do that if you are in control of your beliefs, because you can simply choose to believe otherwise. Someone might have done something or said something, but you choose how you want to perceive that. And that's really, in a nutshell, what this entire course is about. Just change your perception. It doesn't matter what someone else has said or done. You change your perception of it, and you're free of any negative consequences. As he says, you free the past from what you thought before, and you free the future from all ancient thoughts of seeking what you do not want to find. All of that can just drop away and let go. He says, I loose the world. And this is a great lesson in letting go, isn't it? I loose the world from all I thought it was. And I like the term loose as well. He's saying I loose. It's like, because we're so tightly bound into these beliefs, aren't we? And it feels very contracting, constricting, and imprisoning. And then I just loose it, just release all of those ties and those binds, which are really just your beliefs. That's what keeps you in chains. So,
can I say something?
Yeah, please.
The Course also says that heaven and hell is a result of perception. And that's all about beliefs. If you believe this is a terrible place, then you believe it's hell. But if you believe the Course and what Jesus says, then it becomes heaven for you.
Yeah, well, it certainly becomes. It's not ultimate heaven, but it's a step. You know, the real world, as he calls it, is the stepping stone to heaven. You cannot go to heaven, which is, you know, perfect love, pure formless awareness, until you've corrected your misperceptions of this world. You just stay stuck here, and we've all been doing this a very, very long time. We've been here many times, many lifetimes, doing the same stuff over and over again, repeating the same patterns of thought and emotion and belief, lifetime after lifetime. And fortunately, now you come to a teaching like this, really from a master who's come out of the matrix, and he's saying to you, look, this is the way you can do this. This is the way you can get out. And so, you know, he's saying follow this way, and I'll show you. I did it. I used exactly this philosophy, these methods to break free myself, and I'll help you do the same. Which is pretty amazing, really. And we've got a teaching like this, and it's available freely, absolutely free. You can get it on the internet, which is amazing. So we can share this information freely. What I will say is that most people need a little bit of guidance to understand it, because if you just dived into this, for a lot of people, it's like, what is he talking about? This is it's high-level stuff, and the language isn't necessarily that easy, especially if it's your second language. So you know, that's the value of just like going through this and unpacking it. line by line and paragraph by paragraph. Okay, any more questions or comments on number 2? Shall we go on to number 3 then?
I'll read it.
Okay.
The present now remains the only time. Herein the present is the world set free. For as you let the past be lifted and release the future from your ancient fears, you find escape and give it to the world. You have enslaved the world with all your fears, your doubts and miseries, your pain and tears, and all your sorrows press on it, and keep the world a prisoner to your beliefs. Death strikes it everywhere, because you hold the bitter thoughts of death within your mind. I think the first line, it says, the present now remains the only time. And that's if we live mindfully, and we can stay in the now, we need to stay in the now and know what the truth is, and live and believe and only see through Christ's vision what the truth is all the time. But it can only happen in the now.
Yeah, this is the only thing that's real. The
True.
past and the future are simply mental delusions. They don't really exist. Find escape and give it to the world. And there he's giving us, so he has these kind of, we call it the carrot and the stick. He has these stick paragraphs where he's like, you haven't enslaved the world with all your fears, your doubts and miseries, your pain and tears, because he's telling you what you've done, and he has to tell us that to wake us up. So sometimes the language can get pretty graphic and descriptive. Sometimes he goes into like blood dripping down, but what he's trying to do is wake us up to the power of our minds and just how much we've believed in this false voice called the ego, and that's essential if you're going to wake up and let it go. You must realize that this is not working, that this is not a voice you want to listen to, and then be willing to let it go accordingly.
Yeah, what I also get in my mind now is the Bible speaks about Satan, the devil, and Jesus speaks about the ego. So I've tied that up, that the Satan and the devil of the Bible, it's actually the ego, the small I, that is ruling this world, ruler of this world.
Yeah, absolutely. It's just language and terminology. Call it whatever you want, but it's the belief in an individual self. You think you're an individual, and most people do. It's the kind of default belief system of this world, and he's questioning that and saying maybe that's not true. In fact, it isn't true, but he's asking you to consider the possibility that it's not true to start with. And then he's telling us very clearly what we've done. We've enslaved the world. All your fears, your doubts and miseries, your pain and tears, and all your sorrows press on it. Keep the world a prisoner to your beliefs. So we project our own beliefs onto the world. And then the world becomes a prisoner to these beliefs. The world is simply being used to confirm those beliefs in our mind. And we will see what we want to see. That's the truth of the matter. You will see what you want to see. If those beliefs have a hold in your mind, then you'll see a very painful, very, very miserable, very suffering and pain and sickness and death, because that's what's in your mind, and you see what's in your mind. And so he's asking us to change our minds and say, well, maybe none of these beliefs are true, and so none of the projections of them that we see in the world can be true either. They're just projections of a false belief system. And if I don't share that, then they have no power over me. I don't have to believe in them in any way. And the whole course is really just designed to help you to let go of those false beliefs. Because the theory is simple, but the practice of it is what counts. To actually do this, to actually let go of all of your false beliefs, and find, only love and only peace and only joy in a world where there's seemingly so much misery and pain and suffering and death. Well, that's the art of letting go, and that's enlightenment. You can attain that state. And it is possible that people like Jesus and Buddha, various other masters who have achieved that state with much practice. It doesn't just come. It requires a lot of mind training. Okay, any more questions, comments on number 3? No. Okay, let's move on to number 4. Anyone else want to read that? Sue, maybe?
Yep. The world is nothing in itself. Your mind must give it meaning. And what you behold upon it are your wishes, acted out so you can look on them and think them real. Perhaps you think you did not make the world, but came unwillingly to what was made already, hardly waiting for your thoughts to give it meaning. Yet in truth, you found exactly what you looked for when you came.
Okay, do you want to give us a little summary of that?
Yeah, well, this is saying that everything we're seeing and believing about the world is actually, it's just coming from our own minds, coming from our own beliefs and thoughts, and which have been built up all through our life.
He's saying perhaps you think you did not make the world, but came unwillingly to what was made already. Okay, so you were born into the world that was already there. But he's saying, no. In truth, you found exactly what you looked for when you came. So you had a belief system in place when you came, which is why you came back here, because you don't come back if there's no belief in the world. You already had those beliefs. And then you find exactly what you looked for, because that belief system requires a world like this in order to justify it. And that's why we keep coming back over and over, because if you die, you leave this physical body with those beliefs still intact, then those beliefs will just draw you back. And you will find again exactly what you looked for when you came, a world of fear and suffering and pain and misery and death, which is based on the beliefs that you still hold are true in your mind. So he's really targeting our beliefs here and saying, look, the world is nothing of itself. You need to look in your mind. You need to look at your beliefs. What do you believe about the world? And if you can change those beliefs, then you're free. It's as simple as that. The world doesn't need to change. The external world continues as it is. But it's your beliefs and then your perception of the world that need to change. Again, seek not to change the world, but seek to change your mind about the world. And that takes a lot of reminding, because it's very easy to slip into, I want to, even, with all good intentions, I want to change the world for the better. But that's, people have been trying to do that forever, for millennia, and still we have the world as it is, a world full of sickness and suffering and misery and death. So maybe that's not really going to work. The only thing that is going to work is to change your perception of it, and then live freely and happily and in flow in a world where all these things seem to be happening because they simply don't affect you anymore, because you don't believe in them. None of these things can negatively affect you because they're simply not real to you. That's where he's taking us with this lesson and with this whole course. Okay, any other questions, comments on that? All right, so move on to number 5 then. So who hasn't read? Katie, do you want to read for us, or John?
I can read.
Okay, go ahead, Katie.
Katie,
Okay.
you read, and then John can read the next one.
There's no word apart from what you wish, and herein lies your ultimate release. Change but your mind on what you want to see, and all the world must change accordingly. Ideas leave not their source. The central theme is often stated in the text and must be borne in mind if you would understand the lesson for today. It is not pride which tells you that you made the world you see, and that it changes as you change your mind.
Okay. Anything stand out for you there?
What stands out to me?
Yeah.
Mm, nothing.
Okay. You want to give us a summary then? What is he
Mm,
saying
yeah.
in summary in that paragraph?
That the world reflects what idea I choose in my mind, and if I want to see a different world, I have to change my mind.
Change but your mind.
Mm.
What you want to see, all the world must change accordingly, because your perception must change. And so the world is in your perception. This is a now scientific principle. There is no reality in the absence of observation. That's the Copenhagen interpretation of quantum mechanics. What is that saying? There's no reality in the absence of observation. It's all about your perception. There's no absolute objective reality. Reality is as you perceive it, which is, from a scientific perspective, just confirming exactly what Jesus is saying here. You change your perception, you change your beliefs, you change your perception, then the world changes because the world's in your belief. It was never real, it's just perceptual. It's all happening in your mind. And then do you understand what he means by ideas leave not their source? Because it's actually one of the central ideas of the course.
I thought if I choose the idea that I am the ego, so I see the ego as the source, and I will perceive the unhappy dream. And if I choose the Holy Spirit as the source, I will have all the ideas I have will be connected to the Holy Spirit and the happy dream.
So any idea comes from its source. And if the source is true, the source is God or love or pure formless awareness, then that idea will be holy, that idea will be positive, that idea will be helpful. And in the same way, if you've got a false belief, a false idea of a separate source, right? That's what the ego is, something separate from pure formless awareness. Now all ideas that come from that seeming source are connected to it. And that's why he's pointing us. I think in the first paragraph, he says, when you question, when their source is raised to question, that the hope of freedom comes to him at last. So you need to question, well, what is the source of these thoughts? And if you start doing that in your life, then you instead of being at the effect, you're now going to the cause. You're saying, okay, so what's actually causing these thoughts? If I'm having thoughts of fear and anger and attack, are they really being caused by what's happening outside of me, by the external world? Or are these actually part of a belief that I have in my own mind already? So the cause is internal. Cause is my own belief in this, what we call the ego, which is a sense of a separate self. That's the real cause. The external world is just a trigger. It's not the cause. It's a trigger for those thoughts and emotions that we call the ego to then arise. And then we go, oh no, I blame the world. but actually it's your own beliefs that are the problem, and the world just triggered those beliefs to arise in your mind. And then the ego tells you, no, you're upset because of this person said or did something, or this happened, or whatever, which then keeps the thought system intact, and it stops you from really doing the deep inquiry and saying, no, but maybe I need to go beyond that and look at the real source in my own mind and identify it as false, that the source of all these negative thoughts, all the hurtful, painful thoughts and feelings that you've ever had have a false source. You get to the source and you're willing to just collapse it and go, but that source isn't real. The idea that you are separate from love is not real. That's what they're all based on. So this is what he means by ideas leave not their source. And that's why it's saying you need to bear this in mind, because the source of the thought is going to determine the thought and the thought's effects. And he's telling you it's not pride which tells you that you made the world you see. That it changes as you change your mind, right? So that tiny mad idea of being a separate self is what made this world. That's what he's saying through this teaching and the whole course, that we made it up. And that's not arrogance, it's not pride. It tells us that it's what really happened. It's a projection of our minds. And it's done on a level that we've forgotten, and it's now become a collective projection. So we all see the same projections, and we agree that the projections are there, and that's what the world is. Collective projection agreed upon and made real in our minds. But just because everyone else believes it doesn't mean you have to believe it. And so the world will change because it's all projection and perception. There's this projection perception mechanism going on all the time, and that's what creates our reality here. Then as soon as we change our perception, we're changing the projection, because it's all happening from the mind, and our world changes. We see the world differently, and we might find that different things start to manifest in that world because it's all a projection of belief. So the way to change the world is to change yourself. Really connect with the true source and let that source dictate your thoughts, your words, your actions. And then that will follow through into your world. That must follow through into your world. You're perceived differently, and your projections are going to be different as well. So what you so-called manifest, if you want to use those terms, changes because you changed your mind, and the mind is the fundamental basis of both projection and perception. And so that's how to, you want to change the world. It requires this fundamental change in mind, going to the source of the true source in your mind, and letting that think the thoughts, feel the feelings, direct your thoughts, your words, your actions, put that in charge. And this is what it means, when he says, so you surrender to God, or you let go and you let God. You're letting that presence guide everything. And then just you let the results flow from that. It's not like you consciously say, well, I want to manifest this, or I want to manifest that. You just allow yourself to be guided moment by moment as to what should happen. And that's really, to come back to what Kim said, that's really what the flow is about. Being in the flow of this true source, this true spirit guiding you moment by moment, telling you what to do, where to go, what to say in the world. That's when the flow starts to happen, because it's no longer you, it's no longer the little you in charge. There's this power of spirit, the one self, the true source that's now flowing through you, and you're just a channel for that, and you are being used for its purposes. And so that's what that's what the enlightened state really is. You've surrendered your own world, not my world, as Jesus said, not my will, but thy will be done. This higher world, this enormously powerful spirit that is there for all of us, is now guiding you in all your thoughts, words, and actions. And it can guide you in amazing ways, miraculous ways to do miraculous things, as we've seen from people like Jesus and various other masters in history have shown us just what's possible if you do surrender. So that's what he's offering us all the opportunity to do that. Okay, any comments or questions on that? All good? Shall we move on to number 6? John, do you want to read that?
Yeah. But it is pride that argues you have come into a world quite separate from yourself, impervious to what you think and quite apart from what you chance to think it is. There is no world. This is the central thought the course attempts to teach. Not everyone is ready to accept it, and each one must go as far as he can, let himself be led along the road to truth. He will return and go still further, or perhaps step back a while and then return again.
Okay. So anything stand out today?
Yeah, so this is, for me, this is emphasizing that we live in an illusion. There is no world as we think it is. You know, it doesn't have the significance it has. But not everyone is ready to accept this, and we can only each do what we can. Remember, the last sentence kind of just holds me a bit. He will return and go still farther, or perhaps step back a while and then return again. So is he saying here, we will return again to the illusion, or step back from the illusion for a time before we come again?
I think he means he will return to the truth, to the path. Not everyone is ready to accept it. So he's talking about this teaching.
Okay.
Not everyone's ready to accept it. Each one must go as far as he can, let himself be led along the road to truth. And then at some, and this happens quite a bit, you know, in on these paths, people will drop off for a while and they'll go, well, I'll go do something else and I'll try the ego again. And then, you know, you come back because, okay, that didn't work. I'm really not any happier. In fact, I'm more miserable and less peaceful. And as I said, I've spoken to a number of people in the last couple of months who that's been the case with. They were on some kind of path and then they went off into the ego, and then they'll return at some point because the pain gets too much. It gets too difficult, too painful, too much to deal with. And then they're like, okay, well, maybe I should return to what I knew. Maybe I studied this 10 years ago, and yet I didn't continue on the path. And it's, there is no world. It's a pretty radical idea. This is why this is never going to be a mass teaching, because most people are not ready to accept that there is no world. They're not ready to accept that the entire thing is an illusion and a hallucination of their own mind, and that the only way out is to let go of all of their beliefs in this illusion. You have to drop every single one, otherwise one belief in the dream, the illusion, keeps you coming back. So it isn't a path for the faint-hearted, but it is a path that works. I'm absolutely convinced this is the way, and there is no other way. That's not to say other paths won't lead you to the same point, but in the end, it's the same teaching. Whether you look at Course in Miracles, or you look at Advaita Vedanta, you look at the highest teachings in Buddhism, Sufism, it's all there. They're saying the same thing. It's called the perennial philosophy, that there is another reality. There is a transcendent dimension or world that is beyond this one. And this one, therefore, is illusory, because that other one is true and this one is false. And all the mystics and the saints and the masters and the avatars have said exactly the same thing, from every single culture, every single tradition, every single religion over the course of recorded history. They've all said the same thing. So it makes you wonder, well, there must be something to it. Surely that must be the truth then. So the only question then is, am I ready to accept that truth or not? And that's what he's saying. Not everyone's ready to accept it, but all of you are here for a reason, and obviously because you are ready to accept it. And it is a process to accept that, because you're living in this apparent world. So it doesn't just disappear overnight. But what he's asking us to do here is to change our thinking about the world, change our beliefs about the world. That's how you start to make it disappear permanently. When you finally lay your body aside, or you die in physical terms, if you've really corrected your mind, then there's no need for another body, and there's no need to project an illusion of a world anymore, because the separate self that requires that is no longer there. So that's really what this entire course is designed to help you achieve, is collapse the separate self, collapse the need for an outside world, and just remain in peace with yourself, capital self, for all eternity. Okay, so any questions on that? Comments? All clear? All got that then?
Good.
Stop practicing now. Yeah, I'm being facetious, but it does take time for this to really permeate in, because it's pretty radical teaching. Okay, so where are we? Number 7. Whose turn is it? I've lost count. Katie, has everyone gone? Marlene, except Marlene, can you?
No, I'm here.
Yeah, no, I know you, but you did some reading. I was just I'm wondering if Marlene's sound. Marlene, can you read for us or not? No. And Richard, have you read?
No, I haven't. I can
Okay.
certainly do it.
Off you go. Number 7.
But healing is a gift of those who are prepared to learn there is no world and can accept the lesson now. Their readiness will bring the lesson to them in some form which they can understand and recognize. Some see it suddenly on point of death and rise to teach it. Others find it an experience that is not of this world, which shows them that the world does not exist, because what they behold must be the truth, and yet it clearly contradicts the world. So I think that's saying that until you realize it's just a movie playing in your head, and you can go back and realize that there's this illusion, you're not able to get a perspective around where the peace should come from and what the peace should be. And that's where the healing comes from, because the ego comes in and conflicts with that, and your hurt, as the opposite of the healing, the hurt arises because of a belief in the illusion.
Yeah, absolutely. All suffering arises because of a false belief. It's as simple as that. If you drop the false belief, then the suffering goes, and then healing happens naturally. So this is very much a teaching of not becoming something more. There's many teachings, personal growth, etc., where it's like, no, you need to become something more than you are. No, he's actually saying you need to just cut away or let go of what you're not. And if you do that, then healing will happen automatically. Because once you cut away everything that's false, it's a bit like a sculpture. You know, Michelangelo was asked how he did the David. He said, I just took away everything that wasn't David, wasn't the essence of David. And so it's the same thing. You just cut away all of the stuff that isn't really you, and what's left must be you, must be the true self, and what's true. And so it's really a path of letting go. You know, let go of what's not serving you, to become that true self. And that is whole and complete and perfect. And it always has been, and it always will be. And you don't need to become more of that. You simply need to let go of anything that denies that. And again, that's the whole methodology. So it's all about letting go of forgiveness, as Jesus calls it, to bring about this healing of your mind, to reconnect it with the source, to experience yourself as the one self, to find the peace and the love and the joy that comes from that, and healing happens. And remember that healing is primarily of the mind and not of the body. So I was talking to someone the other day, and she said, well, I've got chronic pain and I'm bedridden, and she said, I tend to focus more on the healing of the body. And I said, yeah, I mean, that's understandable, but really it's the healing of the mind. that's paramount and primary. And if you can heal the mind, then the body will tend to follow suit, because the body is just a projection or reflection of the mind. So it's about finding that transcendent place of peace and love and joy. And if you do that, then physical healing can happen very, very quickly. There's been many examples of that, but a particularly good one, if you want to look at it, is Anita Majani. She was a lady who had terminal cancer, to the point where she was on her deathbed, and the doctors had given up. They said, look, to her family, say your goodbyes, because she's out of here. Her organs are shutting down. We can't do anything. And then she went into a coma, and she had this near-death experience, and she saw her dad who'd passed to the other side, and a friend, and suddenly she just got it. She realized that she'd been keeping herself in prison her whole life with these false beliefs, and she felt a transcendent love that she said was just beyond anything you can describe. You can call it the love of God or divine love, and came back. Decided she didn't want to come back, but her father convinced her that she still had, some lessons to learn and work to do. She came back into her body. She came out of her coma. Within 4 days, all of her tumors had gone. She was riddled with them, and they just disappeared, because they were not required anymore. Her belief system had fundamentally changed through that experience. So that just shows you the power of this, and the healing of the body just happened as a result of the healing of her mind. And she's still very much alive today. So this shows you what's possible, and there's no order of difficulty in miracles. Okay, any questions about number 7? No. Okay, so number 8. Let's just ask Marlene if she's got her sound issue sorted. Okay, so Darby's just disappeared because his battery's going flat. Okay. Sorry, couldn't say bye to you, Darby. Marlene, can you read for us or not? Is your sound working? Okay, I'm assuming not. So I'll read number 8. And some will find it in this course, in the exercises that we do today. Today's idea is true because the world does not exist. And if it is indeed your own imagining, then you can loose it from all things you ever thought it was, by merely changing all the thoughts that gave it these appearances. The sick are healed as you let go all thoughts of sickness. The dead arise when you let thoughts of life replace all thoughts you ever held of death. Again, he's saying very clearly it's about our own beliefs. Only as our minds are healed can the sick be healed and the dead arise. So remember that, when next you're watching the news and there's all this chaos and sickness and death going on, remind yourself that the only way any of this is going to heal is if you change your own beliefs about it and simply refuse to believe in these false projections of the ego. So any thoughts on that? Comments, questions? No? Okay, so number 9. I think everyone's gone, so you want to start again, Kim? With you.
Okay, a lesson earlier repeated once must now be stressed again, for it contains the firm foundation for today's idea. You are as God created you. There is no place where you can suffer and no time that can bring change to your eternal state. How can a world of time and place exist if you remain as God created you?
Okay.
So it looks like what he's saying is if we are as God created us, and it's the truth versus what the world is, and the world doesn't exist. That's where the place you don't suffer in that place,
Hmm.
and there's no time and what's no like time and space. Or, sorry, no time and form. It doesn't say form, but I'm mentioning that no time that can bring change to a certain take, because time doesn't exist.
Hmm.
Why can a world of time and place exist
Hmm.
if you as God created you? Because that's not how God created you. There's no time.
Hmm.
Mm.
So I'm just going to bring in, I'm going to have to stop the share. I'm going to bring in some of these terms. I share my whole screen and it'll should work. So we started last year, the suggestion of John actually. Some of these terms, it's a glossary of terms for A Course in Miracles, which is always useful when he uses these terms. Then what we started doing was just retranslating into these other terms because it makes these things kind of more meaningful. So God or Father or Source, he uses those terms interchangeably. It mostly uses God in the Course, and an alternative for that is pure formless awareness, or unconditional love. It's another one, or perfect oneness. Whichever one of those kind of works better for you, and you can interchange them, because God is just a pointer. It's a word that points to those to these deeper teachings. So Kim, if you want to just, I'll tab across here. Just read that again, and then substitute the word God for choose either pure formless awareness or love or perfect oneness, and see how that changes it.
Okay. A lesson earlier repeated once must now be stressed again, for it contains the firm foundation for today's idea. You are as pure formless awareness created you. There is no place where you can suffer, and no time that can bring change to your eternal state. How can a world of time and place exist if you remain as pure formless awareness created you?
So does that change it a bit? Do you get it sort of maybe a deeper understanding? What I like about doing this pure formless awareness and substituting these ideas, these terms, is that then God becomes much more meaningful, because a lot of people are like, God, what does that even mean? But pure formless awareness, right? That's your true awareness, beyond the illusion, beyond any thoughts that you've ever thought about the illusion. It's just awareness in its pure form. And that's what you are. That's what created you. That's what you still are. If you remain as that, then how can a world of time and place exist? It can't, because pure formless awareness is sufficient unto itself. It is whole and it's complete and it needs nothing else. Anything else is just a split off from that. It's the opposite of that. It's a delusion. And this is the whole teaching. He's taking us back to an awareness of our own pure formless awareness. That's all that's happening here. So when you become aware of your own pure formless awareness and you are immersed in that awareness, then you and God, the Son and the Father, have been united. That's what that language means. So if you look at, here, the Son of God, the extension of pure formless awareness, it still thinks it is separate from its source. But when the extension of this source comes to the awareness that it is that source, that this pure formless awareness is its awareness, that is the whole point of our journey here. That's all we're here to do. So the Son and the Father become one in more kind of traditional Christian terms. But it's actually pointing you to some ideas that it's really happening in the mind. So I hope that's helpful. And as we go, probably won't get to all of these, but as we go through the course and the program, we refer to these terms because it just helps with a a deeper understanding of what they really mean. And then apparently, Iona, you've studied Advaita and Rupert Spira's work. Is that correct?
No, I haven't.
Oh, was that someone else? Did I get the wrong end of the stick there?
No, that's not familiar to me.
Yeah,
Okay.
that was Hina who I invited.
Okay. Okay. So just to reference to some of the Eastern teachings, if you go into Advaita Vedanta, which is it literally means the knowledge of not two. It's kind of at the top of the tree of Eastern teachings, and then a lot of them devolved from that, like Hinduism, and split off and went to China and became Taoism and so on. But at the very top of all of those Eastern spiritual teachings is Advaita, which means the knowledge of not two. And they tend to use this sort of more, they do call God Brahman, but the idea is it's this pure formless awareness, it's absolutely pure consciousness that you are. And your only job is to merge your awareness with that, to become one with that awareness. So that awareness is your awareness. That is the merging of the Son and the Father, the seemingly split off mind with now the true mind. And that's really what's going on. And that pure formless awareness is God speaking to us, calling us back to that place of purity and innocence continuously through our dream, saying, let go of all these false beliefs and ideas and just surrender to this awareness. That's the let go and the let God idea. So you just become that pure formless awareness. And in that, nothing else is required. As he's saying, how can a world of time and place exist if you remain as pure formless awareness? In pure formless awareness, there's formless. There's no need for a world of time and place and form in pure formless awareness. Okay. So any questions or comments on that? All good? Okay, so number 10. Anyone want to volunteer? I can't remember the sequence of who read what. Iona, or was it?
Yeah, okay.
You want to read number 2? Number 10?
Number 10. What is the lesson for today except another way of saying that to know yourself is the salvation of the world? To free the world from every kind of pain is but to change your mind about yourself. There is no other world apart from your ideas, because ideas leave not their source, and you maintain the world within your mind in thought. Beautifully put.
His language is extraordinary, isn't it? It's amazing literary work, apart from the content of it, just the way it's written. It's quite beautiful.
Yes, it is beautiful.
Written in, a lot of it's written in Shakespearean iambic pentameter, which I'm not exactly sure even what that is, but it has a kind of a poetic, the idea is it's got a sort of poetic feel to it. You do sort of get that sense with the way he's constructed the sentences, the words flow.
When I
To free
realized
the world.
Yeah. When I did begin to grasp this whole idea, there was such a massive feeling of relief and release that actually that I maintained this extraordinary position, if you like, power within me, and it was my choice. It was not laid upon me, and that was a change of mind, which was so profound.
Yeah, well, it's waking up to your power, the power of your own mind. You have a choice, no matter what's happening in the world. You always have a choice as to how you're going to perceive it. That's fundamental. It's the fundamental level of choice. So immediately you might not be able to escape the world. That happens when you finally lay the body aside. But while you're here, you have a choice. And in every moment you have that choice. Do you see it from a perspective of love, or do you see it from a perspective of fear? And when you change, yeah.
Sorry, did you notice at the end of sentence number 2 there? Change your mind about yourself. It's not just about the world, it's about who you are, your own power, your own position, your own attitude, aptitudes, capabilities.
Yeah, who you are. I mean, this is the ancient injunction, really, of every great spiritual master and teaching is know thyself. Because everything comes from that. Who you are determines your perceptions of the world, but who you believe you are, determines your beliefs, determines your perceptions, determines your thoughts, your words, your actions. All of it comes from the self. And if that self is false, then, as he says, ideas leave not their source. Then everything's going to be false about your life. And how can you find peace, true peace of mind, if you believe in what's false? You cannot. It's impossible. So as you change your mind about the world, you're changing your mind about yourself, because the world is a reflection of what you believe about yourself. And so that's the profundity of this teaching. He's saying it's changing your thoughts, for sure, changing your thoughts, changing your perceptions, changing your emotions, but that changes you, changes your self-concept. And you start to realize that actually who you believed you were was just not true at all. It was a false self that you believed in, and that kept you in prison. That false self was the source of all of your pain and your misery and your suffering. But fortunately, you have a choice. You don't have to continue believing in it. This is all he's saying. You don't have to believe in the false self. It doesn't really exist. It only exists if you're willing to entertain its thoughts and beliefs and allow them to have power in your mind and in your life. So he's just giving us back our power here. And each lesson is, if you really learned this lesson and you applied it, it's enlightened. If you applied this lesson, you're an enlightened being. Fortunately, he's given us many of them, because he knows that we need many different perspectives and many different takes on this. So he gives us many lessons to see it in different ways, and each one is just helping us to correct our minds a little bit in a different way. Yeah, but thanks for bringing that up. Anything else you noticed? Again, there is no world apart from your ideas, because ideas leave not their source, and you maintain the world within your mind in thought. Okay? So it's a projection of your mind. This is what he's saying. And modern science, quantum mechanics, agrees with this. We are creating it all the time. And our minds are creating this whole illusion. That's how powerful they are. And we maintain the world within our minds in thought. If we believe these beliefs, then the world gets maintained. If you drop the beliefs, then the world no longer needs to be there. And this is the enlightened way, an enlightened perception that he's training us to. Okay, number 11. Who hasn't read? Katie, you're back with us. Do you want to read number 11?
Yeah. Yet if you are as God created you, you cannot think apart from him, nor make what doesn't share his timelessness and love. Are these infinite in the world you see? Does it create like him? Unless it does, it is not real and cannot be at all. If you are real, the world you see is false, for God's creation is unlike the world in every way, and as it is was his thought by which you were created, so it is your thought which made it, and must set free, that you may know the thought you share with God.
Okay, so do you want to translate God into something else? So the options are pure formless awareness, or unconditional love, or perfect oneness. Just read
Yeah.
those sentences again and see if it makes a difference.
Yet if you are as pure formless awareness created you, you cannot think apart from it, nor make what doesn't share its timelessness and love. Are these inherent with the world in the world you see? Does it create like it? Unless it does, it is real and cannot be at all. If you are real, the world you see is false. For the creation of pure
Just
formless
use love. Or love's creation is it's easier.
For the love's creation is unlike the world in every way, and as it was its what thoughts,
It's thought, yeah. It's thought.
and as it was with its thought by which you were created, so it is your thoughts which made it and must set it free, that you may know the thoughts you share with pure formless awareness.
Okay, so any thoughts on that?
Mm. No, do you want me to summarize it?
Yeah, that'd be great.
Uh,
Can I maybe offer something?
Yeah, by all
Yeah.
means.
So what I was seeing in the sixth sentence is that you effectively have to clear your mind of the illusion in order to know the thoughts that you share with God. Because if you are all the awareness of higher power, because until you do that, you're not holding yourself or revealing yourself in His natural, in the way that He created you.
Yeah. So it's quite useful to think of as pure formless awareness, because that's all it is, right? There's no subject-object thought, right? There's no dualistic thought in pure formless awareness, because it's formless. So it's not I, subject, see you, object, person, place, thing, whatever it is. You know, that's how we think in this world. But that dualistic thinking simply doesn't exist there. In pure formless awareness, it's just an awareness of itself, and it's complete unto itself. There is no other awareness. There's nothing else required. So saying our thoughts, lower thoughts, which were made up from this belief in separation, from a separate self, made the world. So he uses this language of making to denote anything that's illusory. So whenever he says we made it up, it's an illusion. So our thoughts, based on a false idea of who we think we are, made the world. And so we must correct our thoughts to set the world free and to set ourselves free from the world. Because only then do we know the thoughts that we share with God. And he uses capital thoughts. Now, these are not subject-object thoughts. They're not dualistic thoughts. There's an awareness. It's beyond what we even think of as thought. But in a deep meditation, you can get access to some of these thoughts. You might just feel such a sense of love and joy and gratitude. And so the thoughts and the feelings really merge into one. You know, he uses thoughts to denote them, but it becomes an experience that we share with pure formless awareness, right? If pure formless awareness is our awareness, then all the worldly thoughts must be gone, because the world is about form, and pure formless awareness of God is formless. as he says, you cannot really think apart from this pure formless awareness, nor make what does not share its timelessness and love. So whatever we've made up from a false idea of separation is simply false, and it does not exist in truth. The only thing that really does exist is that pure formless awareness. That's the foundation of your mind. It's what's indestructible about you. It's your true nature. And you cannot break that down. You cannot separate that. You cannot go beyond that. Once you get there, that's it. You've arrived home. And so that's where he's taking us with this lesson. So thanks for sharing that, Richard. I hope that, like what I just said, gives a bit more, kind of fleshes it out a bit. But this is what he's teaching us. Katie, did you want to share anything else?
I think there's some part I didn't understand of that part.
Yeah.
Yet if you are as God created you, you cannot think apart from him, nor make what doesn't share his timeless. Are these inherent in the world you see? So it's meant, is timelessness and love inherent in the world I see?
He's saying no, by implication, they're not. The world you see with the body's eyes and senses is not timeless. Time is happening, things are changing all the time. Time and change go hand in hand. You can't really have one without the other. Time essentially is change. When things are changing, then we say, oh, well, now there's time that's lapsed between where it was and now it's in a new condition. And it's changed. And so that's how we measure time, by change. So we come back to the overall topic, riding the wild tiger of change. The only way you're going to do that is go into a state of timelessness, which is eternal. That's beyond time. It's beyond change. And find the truth there. The truth in God, pure formless awareness. There's no time there. It's eternal. And so change, while you're in the world of time and change, simply doesn't affect you. It's like, well, actually, my true reality is unchanged, unchangeable, and I'm eternal. And so none of these changes matter. I'm not going to let these affect me in any way, because I'm this eternal being, and I'm perfectly safe and secure and contented in that eternal place, state of mind, really, in my mind, rather than in the world trying to figure out this world of illusion and somehow make it work, which is what the ego is always trying to do and failing. It's never going to do it because it's an illusion. It's false. You're never gonna figure it out. It's never going to work. So he's saying maybe it's time just to recognize this and accept the truth instead. So it's a very, very simple teaching, just quite difficult to do because you have to really let go of everything that you valued in this world. Then he says, if you're real, the world you see is false. Did you have a question about that? God's creation of love, love's creation is unlike the world in every way. So saying these realities you can't merge.
I just read it.
Yeah, do you have a question? Okay. And Katie's having trouble with the connection. Okay, so and she's dropped off. Shall we move on to number 12? Unless there's any more thoughts on that. Richard? Yeah, or John? John, you have a go?
Okay. Release the world. Your real creations wait for this release to give you fatherhood, not of illusions, but as God in truth. God shares his fatherhood with you who are his son. For he makes no distinctions in what is himself and what is still himself. What he creates is not apart from him, and nowhere does the Father end, the Son begin as something separate from him.
Okay, I want to do a little translation using these terms, because there's lots of them in there. God, he uses Father, he uses God, he uses the Son. So God is pure formless awareness, or unconditional love, or perfect oneness. Son of God is the extension of pure formless awareness. It still thinks that it's separate from its source, but really, in truth, it's just the extension. It's the same as this pure formless awareness, which is the source.
We don't have fatherhood, though, do we?
No, we don't have fatherhood. So you'd have to say his. How would you translate that? It's pure formless awareness.
State of conditional love.
Well, let's just see. So where are we? There's fatherhood. God shares, so pure formless awareness shares its fatherhood is really about its origin. Fatherhood.
Yeah.
So maybe you could translate that as its origin. Pure formless awareness shares its origin with you who are its extension. You see. And then just see if it makes sense. So do you want to give it a go? Just retranslate that whole paragraph.
Yeah. Release the world, your real creations wait for this release to give you fatherhood with a small f. Your real creations wait for this release to give you
just use fatherhood. I mean, it's as good a
fatherhood. Okay. Not of illusions, but as love in truth, pure formless awareness in truth. Love shares its source, its essence with you who are its extension. For it makes no distinctions in what it is and what remains itself and what will always be and how it will always be. What it creates is not separate from him, and nowhere does creation end, the extension begin as something separate from it.
You could say nowhere does pure formless awareness end and its extension begin. But see, if you retranslate with any of these terms, it should make sense. And if it makes sense, then you know that you can use the term. And maybe just bring in, because there's a lot of people who don't like this Christian language, the Son, the Father, Christ, and so on. But if you just retranslate it and you use other terms, then it starts to become much more understandable and also maybe more acceptable to people.
Yeah.
The Father, Son, and Holy Spirit is source, extension of the source, or pure formless awareness, the extension of pure formless awareness, which is our minds in truth. And the Holy Spirit is just the remembrance that actually only the idea of oneness is true. And that idea of oneness now connects us with pure formless awareness. So if you retranslate it, it all starts to make a lot more sense than, just using the traditional Christian terms. And honestly, if you ask most Christians what Father, Son, and Holy Spirit really mean, they probably can't give you an intelligible answer as to what these things actually mean. Really, because it's just doctrine. It's like, well, the Holy Spirit, but what do these things actually mean? Well, they are terms pointing you to aspects of your mind, and the Holy Spirit is just a remembrance or the awareness of oneness. or this pure formless awareness. That's all it is. So the memory in your mind, remembrance of this. And then that remembrance or that memory becomes the reinterpreter of the dream or the illusion of form from the perspective of oneness only. So everything that you perceive in this world now is perceived from this idea of oneness as the only truth. To return the mind to the perfect awareness of oneness or God, to its own awareness of itself as pure formless awareness. Another way of saying that. And so the idea of oneness will return you to pure formless awareness. So the Holy Spirit returns the Son to the Father, stated in different terms. So I think it's just helpful to bring in these other terms so that you just get an understanding of what he's really pointing to. And he's actually pointing to aspects of the mind here. The terms are just useful pointers, that's all. So if the terms Father, Son, Holy Spirit are not useful, then use other terms that are potentially more useful. Okay, any questions on number 12? Happy with that?
Yeah.
Okay, number 13. Richard, you want to have a read of that?
There is no world because it is a thought apart from God and made to separate the Father and the Son and break away a part of God himself and thus destroy his wholeness. Can a world which comes from this idea be real? Can it be anywhere? Deny illusions, but accept the truth. Deny you are a shadow briefly laid upon a dying world. Release your mind, and you will look upon a world released. I think it's in the last sentence.
Yeah. So let go, release your mind from all these false beliefs, and you must see a world released. So as you change your mind, the world must change. It's the fundamental message in this. Do you want to try this retranslation?
No. No.
Okay. You're not quite ready for that yet.
No, that's a mind bender.
Yeah, but that's the idea. It really makes you think. There is no world because it is a thought. We'll just try.
I thought John did really well.
Yeah. Well, he's had a bit of practice at it because we did it for a couple of months.
I was starting to feel inadequate. Yeah, I was starting to feel inadequate when I heard how well he did.
Yeah, practice. When we started, it is a bit of a. But the idea is just to make you think a little bit differently about it. So if you substitute pure formless awareness for God, and source for Father, an extension of pure formless awareness for Son, then you should be able to do it. And any hymns or himselfs, just substitute it and itself. Then you should be able to do it.
What was Father? Source.
Yeah, let me show you so Father, yeah. God, Father, or Source, right? So you can use, so if he uses Father, then use Source instead. God, we tend to call pure formless awareness, but you could also call it perfect oneness, but just pick one of them for simplicity's sake. And then he also talks about the Son. So the Son is the extension of pure formless awareness or perfect oneness, right? So that's all the Son is, your extension of that same mind. So do you think you can give it a go?
Yeah, let's try.
Okay, give it a go.
It's going to be a tongue twister.
That's okay. I'm sure you'll do all right.
There's no world because it is a thought apart from perfect oneness and made to separate the source and the extension and break away a part of perfect oneness and thus destroy his wholeness.
Its wholeness.
Its wholeness. Yeah, okay.
Just translate
in terms of that. Yeah. Can a world which comes from this idea be real? Can it be anywhere? Deny illusions, but accept the truth. Deny you are a shadow briefly laid upon a dying world. Release your mind, and you will look upon a world released.
Well done. It's Pretty good.
No, I mean, it was just trying to get the initial
Yeah.
ones, but the rest was plain sailing.
It takes a little bit of, like, because you got to translate as you go, and you got to translate the pronouns as well, the hims and the himselfs and
Yeah.
etc. as well. But for me, it makes the course, it takes away the Christian terminology, number one, which a lot of people object to because of experiences with traditional Christianity. So it removes that obstacle, and it points you more into the mind. This is all about mind training. Points you deeper into the mind. So what's really going on in your mind here, right? God is just your own pure formless awareness. That's all it is. And the world is just happened because there's a thought apart from pure formless awareness that seemingly has some kind of reality in your mind. It was made to separate pure formless awareness and its extension, which is your own mind. See, so the Son of God is just the extension of that pure formless awareness. And in truth, you can't really be separate from what's your source. This is the whole teaching. You cannot really be that. You can believe you are, and you can create an illusion of that, seemingly. But in truth, you are the extension of pure formless awareness. You are exactly the same as that. Pure formless awareness is pure formless awareness. There's no like degrees and variations and differences in that awareness. It's one whole complete awareness. That's why it says, how can you really break away a part of pure formless awareness itself and thus destroy its wholeness? It's just an impossible idea. So can a world that comes from this idea be real? If it's an impossible idea, how can the world that seemingly came from this idea be at all real? So the logic, I mean, you try and break this logic because everyone does. You study it. You try and break it and you try and go, no, that can't be true. But if you're really honest with yourself, you cannot fault his logic. His logic is absolutely flawless, which means it must be the truth. Because if you can't break the logic of it, then the logic must be based on truth. And yet you can easily break the logic of the ego. If you just look at it clearly, which he does in detail in this course, you see very clearly that it's absolutely insane. It makes no sense at all. And so that's what he's training you to do, to see, on the one hand, you've got illusions made up by this crazy, insane belief in separation. It makes absolutely no sense at all. And that's what's created your seeming world and your reality here. And then you have the truth, which is perfectly consistent. It's whole, it's complete, there are no contradictions. And you must choose between these, because you cannot have insanity and truth together in the same mind. It's one or the other. Okay, so well done with that. Diving into the deep end, but you did really well. So number 14. Who hasn't read? Sue, I think. Want to give it a go, Sue?
Today, our purpose is to free the world from all the idle thoughts we ever held about it, and about all living things we see upon it. They cannot be there, no more can we, for we are in the home our Father set for us, along with them. And we who are as he created us would loose the world this day from every one of our illusions, that we may be free.
Okay, so we'll just do the retranslation of the Father bit.
For we are in the home our source set for us, along with them.
And we who are as it created us would loose the world this day from every one of our illusions. So it also removes the gender, which is nice, because God is not masculine or feminine. No, that's not, not the case. It's beyond any duality of that kind. So I know, some women have an issue with, well, I don't want God God to be male, so then they change it to female, but then that's equally illusory because God's not female either. God transcends all of it and is genderless. So it is the best term, a neutral gender. So anything stand out for you there?
I think the first sentence, our purpose is to free the world from all the idle thoughts we ever held about it. But our purpose really is to release all our thoughts and just stay in the present moment. Yeah, stay in the present moment.
Stay rooted, because in pure formless awareness, if you remember, the present moment is just the reflection of eternity in this world. It's the closest approximation of eternity that we have. Because in pure formless awareness, there's no time. It just is complete unto itself. So when we are completely present in the moment in this world, that is a little portal into eternity. So we're getting a little glimpse of what that eternal state of pure formless awareness feels like. Again, that's why it feels good to be immersed in the now, because we are connecting with our pure formless awareness, which is timeless, and recognizing that time, the past, the future, it's illusory. These are thoughts in our mind. That's all they are, based on all of these these false projections, these images that get projected onto the screen of time and space. It's a 4-dimensional screen of time and space that creates the dream world. Richard, you mentioned the movie idea, so that's quite a good analogy. You think, we're all watching a movie, and the problem is we've immersed ourselves in the movie. We're like the characters in the movie. So we think we are the character on the screen of time and space, dancing away, playing out our roles, having all the drama, and so on. And we get so attached to that character that we forget that it's just a character in a movie. So we're just a projection of the ego, our bodies and our form and personalities and everything that identifies with that character is not true. And so it's always about taking a step back from the engagement in the screen and all the drama and becoming the observer. And imagine now you take a step back from the screen and you're in the movie theater and you're sitting in the chair watching it. Okay, well that's kind of helpful because now you're observing the character. Oh, okay, so character's getting upset now. Okay, but it's just a character. It's just a movie. So none of it's really real. So I don't have to take it that seriously. And you can observe your own character, whatever your name and your form is, with as much detachment as you can observe someone else's, and go, look, it's all just a movie. It's a play of form. I don't have to get attached to any of it. And then you start looking, and you start wondering from that place of being the observer. Well, where's the origin of all this? Where's this all coming from? And so you turn around and you follow the stream of light back to the projector. And you start going, oh, okay, so this is all being projected from a projector that's sitting, and there's a hole in the wall there. Okay, so I thought all of this was real, but actually it's all coming from this little box. And now if you then went into the projector mechanism, you went, oh, okay, so what's actually happening is they're taking some film and they shine it, they're passing the film in sequence over the light. Right? There's a source of light, but now this film that's coming over is obscuring. It's actually distorting and fragmenting the light into all of these images and pictures that I see out there. That's the projection mechanism. But if I go beyond the screen, beyond the screen and beyond the film over the projector, then I get to the source of the light. You see, and that source of the light.
Take the film away.
Take the film away, exactly, because that film is all of your own beliefs and ideas about how the world should work and how it does work and so on. And all of that is what creates the film that then distorts the light and projects it into all of these images on the screen, which you then get identified with. It's insane, really. So your own beliefs are doing this. You're actually projecting this, but you've forgotten you're projecting it. So now you identify with the character on the screen, even though you're making up the character, and all of your beliefs and thoughts that are false are making this all up. And then you forget that you're doing this, and you believe that you are the character in the dream and that you're separate from everyone else, and it's very threatening and it's very fearful, and you can get very scared, and you can have all these emotions. It's a whole drama that's going on. And the ego wants to keep you there in those thoughts and those emotions, because that keeps the dream going. And its only agenda is to keep you enslaved into that belief that you are that little self with all these thoughts and emotions, and that's what you are, because that keeps the whole dream going. That keeps the whole game going. And if one mind escapes, then that can be the escape for all minds. So like Jesus has escaped, he's now saying, well, look, I did it. You can do it too. I turned around, I started observing the dream, and I turned around and I looked at the source of the light, and I realized that there was just this whole projection mechanism going on, and the ego was just doing this. There was this entity, which he calls the ego. You could call it Satan, the devil, that's conning us. It's all these false beliefs that are conning us into believing that we're something where we're not. And the entire projection is just designed to keep us believing in that false self. That's the only purpose for it. Well, once you get to the source and you realize there's only one idea here, well, there's two ideas, and I just need to choose one. I'm either that light, which is the source, or I must be separate from that light, and I must be a separate self. I must be the character in the dream. But how can that really be so if the character in the dream cannot exist without the light? Okay, without that pure formless awareness, that light, there's no character. There's nothing happens. Nothing gets projected. You need the source in order for anything to happen. So then that surely that must be the fundamental reality. That's true. That's true reality. And every single master who's woken up has said the same thing in different ways. That only that light is true. Only that light is real. Everything else is illusion. It's just projection mechanisms that obscure the light, and your salvation lies in the light, which means just get through all the projections. But you first got to start detaching yourself from the belief that you are the separate character in the dream. That's the first part of it. Being able to observe that character, not get sucked into all the mental and emotional drama that character wants to engage in, and just be able to detach a little bit and say, okay, I just observe all of that, and I can remain above the battleground, above the screen, or beyond the screen, in the audience, so to speak, connected still to the light, because the light now can interpret all of these projections. This is what the Holy Spirit does. So the light can interpret all of them for you and say, okay, but none of these are true, right? Whatever's happening in the dream, whatever the characters are doing, none of it's ultimately true. It's all just projection, and it's all a projection coming from the movie script, which is false. So that script and the film is invented by the ego to distort the light and to fragment the Son of God, the extension of pure formless awareness, into its seemingly separate parts, which are just images that have no reality in truth. And that, by the way, that analogy was used by a guy called Ramana Maharshi, who lived in the first half of the last century, who was an enlightened guru in India, and he used that movie analogy because they invented movies by that stage. So he was like, well, it's like this. This is how it works. And you start seeing that actually what happens in the so-called real world, on the physical level, actually mirrors what's happening in the mind. Movies are just a mirror of what's actually happening on a bigger scale in our minds. We don't realize it. So awakening is just realizing I'm just a character in a movie, and I'm not really that character. I'm actually the source of the light that's beyond it all. That's who I really am. So let me go there and identify only with that, which means I must disidentify with the character. As he says here, you must release the world from all your illusions in order to be free. You must loose the world from all of your, release your mind, and you will look upon a world released. Because if you see only that light, if you identify completely with that light, you must see that light shining through all the images. And you focus on the light rather than the images. So you don't bother about what the characters are doing, what the images are doing, because you recognize that there's only the light. Ultimately, that's their essence. That's the truth of what's really going on. And that's what all that's all that you've been trained to do through this lesson and this course. Well, I say all. I mean, it's pretty profound, really, but it's simple as well. It's not complicated, which is helpful, because if it was really complicated, it becomes very difficult to learn. And the ego is complicated. The ego is very impossible thought system to learn because it's so complicated. And just when you think you've got it, then something changes, and now there's more to learn. And so it just keeps you on this track. And Jesus is saying, no, just learn the one simple thing that you need to learn, which is that none of it's true. Not one single thing that the ego has ever created or made up, to use course terminology, is true. Okay. Any questions on that?
Yeah, I've got a question. Am I correct in thinking that A Course in Miracles says there's no such thing as idle thoughts?
Yeah, he does say that at some point. He says, all of your thoughts have, I think, lesson 16, there are no neutral thoughts. There are no neutral thoughts. So all of your thoughts have power. So you need to be aware of, well, where those thoughts are coming from. Is this the true source, or is it the false thought, false self? So you've got the belief in separation. That's what he calls the ego, just uses a term to denote it. And then on the other hand, you've got the spirit, which is the belief in oneness. Well, it goes beyond belief. It is oneness. It's pure formless awareness. It's perfect oneness. But the belief in it is what's going to guide you back to it. So that awareness of it, the remembrance of it, and that increasing belief in it is what he calls the Holy Spirit, to remind you, look, actually only this is true. And then from that perspective of oneness, look at all your thoughts and say, okay, well, is this true or not? Is this a thought that is an extension of oneness, that goes with that thought system of oneness, or not? And if it's not, then you discard it because it's not true. So again, a very simple idea, really. Okay, it's true or it's not. So this or it's that, and you choose. And in fact, it's the only way you're ever going to get clarity, because otherwise, how do you choose? If everything's true, if everything's equally true, well, you may as well go out and murder a whole lot of people, or give them gifts and be kind to them, because it's all equally true. See? So you have to make this fundamental distinction between the thought systems in order to make any kind of choice. And choice, because we chose falsely, now choice becomes the way out of the false choice. We must choose against the false choice for the ego and choose the truth instead. And that's our way to collapse the false duality that we've created in our mind. Simply to keep denying that the one is real. If you keep denying that the ego is real, eventually it's just not going to be there. It's not going to be there as a choice. So choice then dissolves because there's no longer two things to choose between. There's only oneness. But while we're here, our job is to keep doing this process that he calls forgiveness, of recognizing, okay, yes, I seemingly have two choices, but I make the right choice, which is for the spirit, for oneness, and I deny the other choice. And as I keep doing that, eventually that choice becomes less and less appealing. In fact, eventually it ceases to even become a choice. There's no choice anymore, because how can I choose what I recognize is not even real? It's not even there. It doesn't even exist. So is it really a valid choice to choose what's not real? And that's the whole mind training process that he undertakes with you, to teach you this, so that more and more you used to start to automatically, by default, choose the truth, until eventually the truth and you are merged. You are one. The Son and the Father are one. There's no separation. You are that presence or that essence, and there's no choice anymore. You cannot choose who you are. This is what he's saying. You are what you are. You are as God created you, fortunately, and none of your illusions about what you are mean anything. The ego doesn't like this at all, so it's going to have huge resistance to this. guaranteed, because it's like, oh my God, that's death. I no longer exist. Yeah, because that's what he's saying. The ego, the separate self, no longer exists. In pure formless awareness, it has no reality. And so, of course, it sees this as death, and it has some kind of existence in your mind. So it's going to fight for its existence, tooth and nail, and it's going to try and resist the course, and it's going to resist the teachings, and it's going to tell you all kinds of reasons why you need to believe it and not the Holy Spirit, and divert you, off the path. But that's why this is a difficult path, because you've got this voice in your own mind that pretends to be you. It keeps telling you, no, listen to me. I've got the answer. I know what I'm doing. And Jesus is saying, no, absolutely not. The ego is clueless. It doesn't know what it's doing at all. It's completely confused and delusional. And it's only going to lead you into misery and pain and suffering and ultimately death. That's all it knows. So why would you listen to a voice? It's only going to bring that. Instead, listen to the voice for God, this perfect oneness that is still there in your mind, that can help you even in your dream state, even in a dream world, in a delusion. That voice can help guide you out of it and back to the truth. So I who remain. Actually, Ione, do you want to read that? Number 15.
Number 15.
No.
I who remain as God created me would loose the world from all I thought it was. For I am real because the world is not, and I would know my own reality.
Yeah,
Then merely.
you want to just translate God to something else, like pure formless awareness or love?
I who remain as love created me would loose the world from all I thought it was. For I am real because the world is not, and I would know my own reality. And that own reality is boundless and unencumbered by false idols and thoughts, and ultimately completely free in my choice. Yeah. Oh.
And then he says, merely rest.
Then merely rest, alert but with no strain, and let your mind in quietness be changed so that the world is freed along with you, so that as I free the world. Yeah.
So as you change your mind, so the whole mind, because if everyone's connected, if it's really just one mind, and as you change your mind, you must be changing the mind of everyone. And that doesn't happen immediately on the level of form, because we've all got our journeys, but you are doing your bit to change the world just by sitting quietly and being who you really are. You're holding a presence in the field, the quantum field that we all live in, the morphic field, whatever you want to call it. You're holding that presence, and others can now connect to that. And the more people that do this, the more people will connect to this. So they did some experiments in Washington, D.C. in, I think it was 1992. They had a conference of transcendental meditators. It was like 4,000 of these people who converged on the city, and they all meditated for about 6 weeks, like 4 hours a day, 4 hours, 5 hours a day. And then they checked in with the police force, and because they wanted to do an experiment, see, well, what's going to be the impact on the crime statistics in Washington, D.C. And they found that over that period, compared with previous years, the average, that crime dropped 25%. And the police chief was like, I don't understand why. There's no obvious reason. Nothing we've done. We haven't changed our policies. We haven't got more police officers. So the only thing that could explain it was that there are these 4,000 meditators who are meditating for hours a day, and they going into this field of peace, And because there's so many of them, it influences the whole city. That whole field, energetic field, got influenced, and people were more peaceful and less prone to, you know, violent crime. So very, very interesting. So and you do feel it. You know, if you go to places where people have been very peaceful, you feel that energy, don't you? Like you go into cathedrals. I love the energy in cathedrals, because you go in and there's like this presence that you walk into and you immerse yourself in. It's like, wow, because everyone's come in and they're very peaceful. They're like calming their mind, and they and so over centuries that energy's got entrenched in the place, and you feel it as soon as you walk into it. And in many other, you know, so-called sacred sites and so on, you feel this. So to change the world, you know, you just need to change your own mind about it. As I'm just going to bring this up, Gandhi, today's quote. So just for Iona, I don't think you're on my mailing list. I do send these out every day, so if you'd like them, just pop your email address in the chat, and I'll subscribe you, because I send out a quote and then a little bit of a reflection on it, and connected lesson and meditation as well. So this is what Gandhi had to say. It kind of rounds out this session quite nicely. If we could change ourselves, the tendencies in the world would also change. As a man changes his own nature, so does the attitude of the world change towards him. We need not wait to see what others do. And I would add to that, as a man changes, or as a person changes his or her own nature, so does his perception of the world change. It's not just the attitude of the world change towards him. It's your perception of the world is what changes, and that is what changes the world. And that quote, that's actually what he said. That's been shortened into, we must become the change we want to see in the world. Just kind of a summary version of that. But I think we've taken a kind of a deep dive into what that actually means by studying this lesson. So thank you, everyone. It says, you need not realize that healing comes to many brothers far across the world, as well as to the ones you see nearby, as you send out these thoughts to bless the world. But you will sense your own release, although you may not fully understand as yet, but you could never be released alone. So as you do this, you think you're on your own, but you're not on your own. As you do this work, you go on your own journey, you help everyone, because there are other people, other minds, really, who can pick up on this, and they can learn, and they can be helped by your efforts. And that's happening on a level that, as you said, you won't fully understand, because it's not the physical realm. It's, you're dealing just purely on a mind level. But just by having these conversations, by meditating together, you know, we're part of the solution. So thank you, everyone, for joining tonight. Really appreciate that, and I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did. Any closing thoughts or comments or questions? From anyone? Otherwise, we'll just close it out, maybe with a quick meditation.
Yeah, thank you very much, Jono.
Only a pleasure. Thanks.
And nice to see everybody.
Yeah, nice to see everyone too. So just before we go into the meditation, for those who haven't joined my masterclass, I think that's only Iona. Everyone else has seen it. Iona, I do have a session dedicated to just explaining what the Art of Letting Go course is. We've referred to that. Then there's a one-year program. I've also referred to that, but not in any kind of detail. So if you're interested in possibly joining, I'd suggest you join us on the when's the next one? The 13th. That's this Thursday evening. Join us for a session where I talk about all that and how it all works and so on. And you'll get, you know, the full picture of what's involved. So if you'd like me to, I'll send you an email about it, or I can just register you directly if you want to do it, and you'll get an email with the details, times, login details, etc.
Yes, please do that. Thank you.
Okay. Do you want to just pop your email in the chat?
Yeah, I did.
Oh, you've just done that. Okay. Iona, and as I said, I'll email you every day with a little quote and some inspiration stuff. So hopefully help your practice. Then, you know, if you do join the course, there's also like daily emails, but it's specifically around A Course in Miracles, and there's a quote, but then there's a course lesson, and I think they're quite comprehensive emails. Sue and John and Kim, I think you could probably say they're pretty comprehensive. There's a lot in them. So anyway, I'll talk more about that on let's just pop that in there quickly. I'll talk more about that on Thursday evening at 6 o'clock your time.
Okay.
So I'll sign you up tonight, and you'll get emails and so on with all the details as to how to. It's the same login link actually. So yeah, just the same Zoom room, but there's a few preview videos and so on that I'll send you as well. Okay, Kim dropped off. I didn't see that. Okay, so should we just finish with a little meditation, just 5 minutes, just to close it out with a nice meditative note, unless there are any more questions. No? Okay, so I'm just going to mute everyone. All right, so just sitting quietly, feet shoulder width apart, cup your hands in your lap, close your eyes. Take a nice deep breath in. And just breathe the love that we experienced tonight. There was a presence of love that guided the whole session. So breathe that in. Imagine it's infusing into every pore, your body, every cell, every muscle, every part of your mind, every fiber of your being is infused with this loving presence. And at the same time, feel the gratitude. Take another sip of air in. Love and gratitude go hand in hand. How can you not feel grateful for this presence of love that's so gentle and so kind, so tender, just guiding you back, patient forever. Doesn't matter what you think you've done to violate it. It's just waiting for you to go back to it, to return to it, to unite your mind with it. So very gently and kindly and infinite patience, it guides you back to itself. And the session was part of that process, guiding you back to the awareness that you are love, and that nothing else that you've made up is true or real at all. So smile at that thought and breathe in the loving essence that you are, the gratitude for this gift, really. It's a gift from your source or creator, an eternal gift, so it is always given, can never be taken away. You can never lose it. Okay, and smile at that thought. Eternal gift, it's always there for you. To comfort you, to guide you, to heal you, to bless you. Ultimately, to take you completely out of this dream and back into itself, so that you become this loving presence itself. And only that. And this is the journey we are all on, to reunite our minds with our source. Become one with it again, as we were in the beginning. And in truth, as we still are right now. So maybe you get a little glimpse of that. It's eternal reality, true nature, shining in the present moment, bathed in love and gratitude. Smile, because you are in the grace and the peace of God. No. So just for a minute, stay here. There's nowhere else to go, nothing else to do, nothing else to think about. Just appreciate this loving presence. Be grateful for it. Be grateful for the grace. That's what it's called in the Course and other teachings. The grace of God, the grace of love that's given you, no matter what you think you've done. Right now, just appreciate that. Be grateful for that for the next minute of deep silence. And so, count of 3, you're going to come back. Just immersed in this love and gratitude. You're going to carry this energy with you for the rest of the evening and on into your week. So it is said and so it is done. So 1, just take a nice deep breath in, breathing in, fusing your every cell of your body with this love and gratitude, scanning your mind, just noticing any thoughts and emotions that are out of accord with love and gratitude. If they're there, just release them with the breath, exhale, letting them all go into the nothingness they really are. Noticing how the energy subsides down from the crown of your head to your lower stomach and your groin. Just resting here, peace and stillness. Noticing the weight of your body. The count of 2, pressing down into the chair, feet touching the ground. Breathe in again. Breathe in the love and the gratitude. Just feeling your whole body infused with this loving and grateful presence. Noticing what you're smelling as you do that, tasting. Noticing any sounds without attachment. So none of the illusions of sensory perception can sway you, can take your awareness away from this love and gratitude. You're rooted in them. They remain your awareness even as you come back fully into awareness of your sense perceptions on the count of 3 by opening your eyes. So open your eyes, take 30 seconds just to look around. Noticing the various objects in the room, and your eyes randomly rest on a few. And notice that this awareness of love and gratitude is still the same. There is no difference, there is no separation. And so you start to learn that this is your true awareness, and it remains always. Doesn't matter what you perceive with the body's eyes or senses, it's always there, and it goes with you wherever you go. So may you stay rooted in that awareness, in love and gratitude for the rest of the evening and on into the week ahead. And I hope to connect with you during the week. Just to let you know, I've got a daily live session, meditation and discussion on the quote for the day. I call it the power half hour. So it's just half an hour or sometimes a few minutes longer, but less than 35 minutes generally. And that's happening at 12:30 UK time. Iona, you're most welcome to join us. Again, in my emails, I put the details of that and the login link. And that's 2:30 for your purposes, Richard, and Marlene, it's 2:30 p.m. South African time. So if you like a little half an hour power hour in the middle of the day, feel free to join me. There's the Thursday masterclass as well, which everyone's done except Iona. So Iona joined that because I go into detail on what we discussed. That's 6 o'clock your time. So put those in your diary, and I hope to see you then. Namaste, everyone. Thank you so much. Let me
Thank
unmute
you.
everyone. Okay.
Bye-bye.
My pleasure. Thanks for joining, Richard. Thanks, Marlene. Sorry you couldn't participate, but I hope you got something out of it as an observer. And I'll see you soon, John, tomorrow. You going to join?
Mhm.
12:30. Anyone else? Katie, if you're going to join us. Katie's gone. Iona, Richard, you're most welcome to join. They're nice little sessions. Keep it very short and tight. So these are kind of, the longer weekly things, but those are just like a short check-in, a little taste of this to kind of top you up for the rest of the afternoon and evening. So any day, any time, you're welcome. Same login link. Just join, and it's on my WhatsApp messages and on my email messages. So Iona, if you'd like to get WhatsApps as well, I send out pretty much the same content, but it's just kind of shorter on WhatsApp as well. So pop your thing in the chat, your mobile in the chat, and I'll add you to the list. So
Thank you so much.
yeah, my
Really.
pleasure. Okay. Very nice to meet you. Hope to see you in the week on Thursday. And namaste, everyone.
Namaste. Cheers.
Okay. Night.
Bye.
Now, Iona, if you want to join the WhatsApp, just stick your thing in the chat now.
Yep. Here we
I'm
go.
going to stop the share.
Oh, okay.